Hi, Beth.
Hi.
How's it going?
It's going good.
Good. So just a little disclaimer, this is in no way a real therapy session, okay? This is for a class. It's going to be graded. The only one that will see it is my professor. So what would you like to talk about today?
Well, I've been doing a lot of drinking to deal with things.
Okay. Do you see that as a sin?
I kind of do. The way I was raised, you kind of walked a straight line. You didn't veer off. And I always have my father's voice in my head,
Okay.
telling me how I'm supposed to act.
Do you see this as, in what way do you see disclosing your sin as you stated, you're drinking? Do you see it as a sin?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, because that's how I was raised. I mean, in this religion, you don't drink. I mean, you can have a glass of wine with dinner, but you don't drink in excess. And I have been. So, yeah, I kind of blame myself and look at it as a sin in the eyes of the God that I grew up with.
Okay. How does it feel confessing that? Do you see that as a confession, what you're telling me right now?
Kind of, but if I were to go to the elders in my church and tell them, I see that more as a confession, but yeah, in a sense, I'm confessing to you, so I don't have to confess to them.
What do you think it means to confess?
To tell the truth.
And how does that feel to tell the truth?
I don't know, it's kind of empowering. I don't know how I would feel telling my religious organization this kind of stuff.
Right.
Because I would be shunned. I would be, shunned.
So do you see how the two, the sin and the confession, kind of play a delicate part in what you're disclosing to me? You disclosing, okay, you're drinking in excess, okay, but also how it's affected you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about another realm on this sin and this confessing. Who do you think, or where do you think that the issue goes back to of why you were drinking so much?
My childhood.
Okay. Who do you blame for that?
My father.
Okay. Do you believe that you also play a part in that?
I blame myself for a lot of it. Yeah. For just being there even is where I place blame.
Why do you blame yourself?
Because I was there, because I had to do what he said.
Who's he?
My father.
Okay.
Yeah. Whatever he said, I had to do. And I did it.
How does it feel confessing that?
It's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you plan on moving forward now?
I think from what I've learned so far in my life, I think opening up and talking about it and walking through it instead of around it, I'm going to get to a better place.
How used to you are walking around it, as you say?
Well, I mean, drinking is a good example of walking around it, avoiding any feelings, escaping. any feelings that I have about my childhood.
What feelings does it bring up?
Guilt, shame, yeah, guilt and shame.
Yeah.
hmm I'm sure there's more, I just can't think of them right now.
How does that feel, admitting that guilt and that shame aspect?
It actually feels a little bit better.
Okay.
I know I got a long way to go.
Do you think it's going to be a tough road?
Sometimes, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the other aspects that I want to bring into this, towards the sin and the confession aspect of it, is you admitting what you've done, which the two play very close in hand, correct? In this whole scenario, give me one person that you think of that you need to, or that you would see as to forgiving.
Of course. My father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that would be easy?
No. I think it's going to take time.
What do you see as far as forgiving him?
Knowing that, number one, he was influenced by the religion. Number two, he was abusive. I'm sure, from what I understand, he had a childhood that wasn't that great either. So maybe in that aspect I can forgive him, knowing where he came from. I think at some point I'll be able to forgive him.
So let's go back to your original statement of the guilt and the shame.
Okay.
Who was that towards?
It's towards myself.
Okay. Do you see where I'm kind of leaning into here?
Yeah.
Where do you see?
I should place the guilt and the blame on him.
Well, maybe not necessarily. But you have guilt and you have shame, correct?
I do.
Who else do you see forgiving?
Myself.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Do you see, you wanted to forgive your dad, but you also redirected that guilt and that shame towards him, which quite possibly, but what I heard you say, and this is maybe my interpretation, and correct me if I'm wrong, I was leading that as your guilt and your shame.
I got you.
That's why I wanted to kind of redirect that to as, where did that guilt and that shame come from?
Right.
Most times people have guilt and shame within themselves.
I do.
So that's why I wanted to redirect that other aspect of, who else can you forgive?
Myself.
Is it going to be an easy task?
I also think that's going to take time.
Why do you say that?
Because I've been carrying this around with me for many years.
Part of this, part of working with the sin and the confession and the forgiveness becomes another aspect called redemption.
Redemption.
Do you think that you could be redeemed for everything that you've done?
I would like to think so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's the one beautiful thing about working with God, or as a higher power,
Yeah.
or a God of your understanding,
God
as
of
you
my
stated,
understanding, yeah.
is that He's able to redeem us of the sins that we've done.
He does, yeah. You have to ask him for forgiveness.
Is that easy for Him? Is that easy for you?
It's not easy for me, knowing the lifestyle that I've lived with the drinking, all that comes with that. Yeah,
Is that the only thing that steps you back, is saying it's not easy for me to ask that for forgiveness or for redemption? I've
never asked for redemption. So
So this is a new avenue for you.
Yes.
Yeah. Because it's easy to say, hey, we forgive so and so. And sometimes it's even easy for us to say, I forgive myself. But then asking for that redeeming quality from God says, hey, it takes a lot of inner strength, if you will.
Yeah, I'm not there yet. I would like to be.
And no one says that you have to be right now. You know, that's going to take time for you. And that's based on you, of how quickly you want to get there or how slowly you want to get there. It's your choice.
Quickly sounds nice.
Absolutely it does. And I'd love to say that we can get there like that. You know, it's a great way to look at aspects. So when you look at the 4 areas that I mentioned, okay, which one would you say is the most difficult for you? Do you remember the 4 that we talked about?
I think
Sin,
confession,
forgiveness, and redemption.
and redemption. Okay, yeah. I think redemption, no. I think forgiveness is going to be the hard one.
Why do you think?
Forgiving myself is going to be the hard part. At least that's what I see right now.
Have you already started the process of forgiving your dad?
Yes.
And how has that journey been?
It's not always been easy. You know, he still does things that bring all that stuff back up, but he's also changing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it makes it easier to forgive.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing.
He's changing for the better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And isn't that what we as a society want? Or some people, not everybody does.
Right.
But what I'm hearing is that you want to change for the better.
I do.
Why do you think that you want to change for the better?
Because I'm tired of feeling so miserable. And it's gotten to where I don't have fun when I drink.
Why do you think that is?
Progression, I guess. I mean, what I do know about alcoholics is it does progress and it does get worse. And
Go ahead.
everybody has a bottom, and I prefer not to hit my bottom.
There's another aspect that I want you to look at as well, or that I encourage you to look at. When you said progression, there's also regression, where we regress into our addiction or into an addiction process. You know, it's almost like running away. So the progression and the regression kind of go hand in hand. You know, we regress because we move backwards, but we also progress into that heavier side of our addiction. Does that make sense?
Kinda.
It's like we move a little bit forward in becoming someone better, but then we regress back to our old ways.
So like 2 steps forward and 1 step back.
Correct.
Okay.
But then we progress to a negative aspect.
Right.
Let me state that, in an addiction process. Does that make a little bit more sense?
Yes, it does.
You know, we take that, like you said, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Addiction progresses into a heavier state of being, or into a heavier usage. But we're also regressing our personal side back.
Okay.
Part of us isn't learning something.
Right.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
Which is why that whole sin, acknowledging that sin, confessing that, and then the forgiveness and the redemption come into play.
Right.
To say, hey, I forgive myself. You know, have you ever been to Alcoholics Anonymous?
I went to a couple of meetings.
I know in my experience, they've always stated admitting, you know, I believe it's step 1, we admitted we were powerless. Have you admitted that one?
Yeah.
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 It's kind of goes in line with the confession, right?
Yeah, it's kind of taken over my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to.
No, I don't want it to.
That's
Not anymore.
the good thing.
Yeah.
Is that you've admitted that and stated, I don't want this to go into this.
Right.
You know, which is a beautiful thing. You know,
Yeah.
it's kind of freeing. If
It
you
is.
will.
It is freeing. Yeah.
Because now you get to go about your life a little bit stronger
Mm-hmm.
than what you were
Mm-hmm.
and build upon that strength. And
Yeah.
that's through God's help, you know,
Yeah.
to say, hey, I'm becoming stronger because of this. You know, you taking that admission
Right.
of guilt
Right.
and the shame. You're owning it.
Yeah. I guess I am.
Is that an easy thing to admit right there?
To you, yeah.
But is it to you?
Yeah.
Why?
I guess because I'm ready.
What are you ready for?
I'm ready to get past this.
Get past what?
The guilt and the shame. The sin of it all. I don't want to go back to that religion, but I also don't want to feel like I've committed a sin, and that's kind of what it feels like.
Okay. Well, this has been a great, I appreciate everything that you've stated. And hopefully you've gained a little bit more insight
Mm-hmm.
into what's been going on in your life
Mm-hmm.
to ultimately help you
Yeah.
become stronger, to
Yeah.
become a better Beth.
I want to become a better Beth.
All you have to do is say the words. I want to become a better Beth.
I want to become a better Beth.
And the moment that you say that, hopefully,
Starts the wheels turning?
yes, and you start to feel it.
Yeah.
That it builds up that positive thing inside of you to say, I want something better for my life than what I've had.
I do, I really do.
And that's the good thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's the beautiful part about confessing everything and saying, hey, I've got a problem. I want to fix it. That's the beautiful part.
It is.
And you're on the right track.
Cool, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this. Hopefully you've gained something.
I have.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, I have a direction I can go in now.
That's what's important. That's
Yeah.
the whole point of therapy. Okay?
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And I look forward to our next session.
See you next week.
Okay.